Welcome back, guys. Today we'll continue with Vulkan's fate after his supposed assassination on Macragge and his battle with Magnus the Red during the siege of Terra and the Emperor's plan to destroy Terra should Horus succeed in defeating the loyalists. So let's do this. Upon his resurrection, Vulkan was in a condition similar to a fugue state and remembered little. He found himself in the depths of Mount Deathfire, conversing with an old man, calling himself Deathfire personified. The man urged Vulkan to travel to Terra and led the Primarch to two items that he had no memory of forging, the Thunder Hammer or Dracul and the Talisman of 7 Hammers. When Vulkan awake, he was at the steps of Mount Deathfire and discovered by 3 of his legionnaires, Atok Abidami, Barak Zestos and Egan Gargo. Vulkan ordered the 3 to return in 3 days and forbade them to speak to any else that the Primarch had returned to Nocturne. When the 3 returned, now dubbed Vulkan's Dragsword, the Primarch used his talisman to open a Webway portal deep below Nocturne. What followed next was an exhausting journey through multiple Webway tunnels and exits to reach Terra. Vulkan and his Dragsword found themselves in a satellite realm of Komura, the capital of the Dark Eldar Society, battle in Dark Eldar. They next found themselves with the fleet of Shadrach Medusan, still engaged in a guerrilla war against Horus. Vulkan found Medusan's fleet in the midst of upheaval, with the cult of the Gorgon claiming that it had resurrected Ferrus Manus. Upon meeting the supposed reborn Ferrus, Vulkan discovered it to be little more than a mechanical puppet, with one of Ferrus's metallic arms attached. Saddened that his brother would be shamed so, Vulkan shattered the puppet with his hammer. Vulkan refused to take part in Medusan's war, and during the battle of the Aragna chain, left for Caldera. On Caldera, Vulkan was greeted by Eldar, who guided him to a new Webway portal on the orders of Eldrad Ulthron. Okay, I need to make a video about this guy. Inside the Webway once more, Vulkan and the Dragsword ventured upon Kalastar, long since abandoned since the war within the Webway. In Kalastar, the companions were beset by demons, and Vulkan became engaged in a battle with the great unclean one, Agalboa. Using the talisman of 7 hammers, Vulkan was able to not only slay the demon, but give it a true death. Still beset by demonic hordes, the companions were saved by Eldrad, revealing himself as the Old Man of Mount Deathfire, revealing that the way into the Imperial dungeon had been sealed by the Emperor. Eldrad opened up a new portal that took Vulkan and his warriors to the front of the Imperial Palace. Vulkan was reunited with a visibly relieved Rogal Dawn, but promptly led by Custodes to the Golden Throne to meet with the Emperor himself. The Emperor, now trapped on the throne before his battle with Horus, revealed that he had not only been expecting Vulkan, but had been guiding him this entire journey, and had been the force that compelled him to construct Dracul and the Talisman of 7 Hammers. The Emperor told Vulkan that the Primarch's purpose has always been intended for this moment, for he was designed to construct the talisman and oversee its true purpose. The Emperor revealed that the talisman was a weapon of unprecedented power, a dead man's switch that would consume all of Terra should Horus succeed in the common struggle. It would be Vulkan's duty to press the switch that would destroy Terra but deny the world to the powers of chaos. Vulkan was horrified by the prospect, but the Emperor told him that he must be the one to oversee the device, for the Primarch has always been the most hesitant to use the weapons he forges. With that, Vulkan installed the talisman into the Golden Throne and took up position by the Eternity Gate. Keeping his existence a secret, save for a select few during the Siege of Terra, Vulkan next saw action when Magnus the Red and a group of his 1,000 sons infiltrated the Imperial dungeon to kill the Emperor. Vulkan blocked a lethal blow by Magnus's staff that had been intended for the Emperor's form upon the Golden Throne, but quickly backed down and alongside their father bid Magnus to return to the Imperial's fold. Vulkan became disheartened when Magnus refused the offer to return to the loyalists, after the Emperor told him that he would have to purge his legion due to its rampant mutations. Vulkan himself admitted that he would have made the same choice as Magnus, but nonetheless again defended the Emperor against the Crimson King's assault. Vulkan and Magnus then engaged in a furious duel, but was saved from a decapitating blow thanks to the sacrifice of Egan Gago. Horrified by his son's death and taking up his thunder hammer, Vulkan wielded twin hammers to seemingly beat Magnus to submission. However, before a visibly despairing Vulkan could deliver the final blow, Magnus fully gave himself to the powers of chaos and vanished from the throne room. With Magnus now inside the Imperial Webway and enacting a psychic ritual to sap the Emperor's remaining strength, Vulkan was dispatched by Malcador to put an end to his brother, as the Eternity Gate itself was besieged. As he moved through the Webway, he ignored Magnus's lies and goadings along the way. After journeying to the impossible city to the Webway, Vulkan finally came before Magnus, again ignoring his brother's manipulations, including a vision of the burning of Prospero, and the two came to blows. Initially in the battle, Vulkan seemed to hit nothing but smoke, and it became apparent he was swinging his hammer at smoke. The real Magnus was behind a psychic barrier, steeped within his own ritual to weaken the Emperor. Vulkan took advantage of this by smashing through the already stressed Magnus's barrier, forcing the Crimson King to try and kill Vulkan directly so that he may be allowed to complete his work. Magnus tried every method conceivable to kill his brother. He beheaded him with his khopesh, suffocated him by turning his lungs to amber, drained him of his blood, and immolated him with psychic fire. However, nothing worked, and each time the perpetual Vulkan would regenerate and continue to hammer away at Magnus. Attrition took hold, and Magnus grew increasingly desperate. He entered Vulkan's mind as the noble he had once been, attempting to explain his actions. Vulkan had none of it, however, scolding Magnus for his arrogant and reckless use of sorcery that had turned him into a slave to chaos. In the Webway, Vulkan stood above Magnus, ready to deliver the killing blow. However, he hesitated despite the Emperor's own voice ordering the Salamander's Primarch to kill his brother. Magnus used this moment to unleash the spell he had been working on, undoing Vulkan at a genetic level in a desperate bid to finally kill him. As Vulkan crumbled apart, he nonetheless was able to swing his hammer, smashing off Magnus's head with Ordrakul and banishing him into the warp. Later, Vulkan's regenerating form was seen slowly making it back to the palace's Webway portal, Ordrakul in hand. Vulkan eventually made it back into the throne room through the Webway gate, only to be greeted with the news that the vengeful spirit had lowered its void shields and the Emperor himself was preparing to lead an assault on the vessel. However, Vulkan was told by his father that he would not take part in this last-ditch effort. Instead, he would look after the Golden Throne, as Malcador took his place on it in the Emperor's stead. Should the traitors breach the palace, Vulkan was instructed to activate the Talisman of 7 Hammers. Mere hours later, Vulkan met with Olania's person, John Grammaticus, and the group finally reached the palace. There, he learned from Acte of the prophecy that foretold Horus as the Dark King and the potential 5th Chaos God. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for more.